Hey, happy Saturday! From one empath, highly sensitive, human angel, starseed, God's chosen one, sensitive woman, intuitive empath, to another. I noticed that majority of you guys following me are women, which I'm of course happy about because, I'm a woman, so it's a lot easier, of course, for me to support and guide all of you sensitive women out there who want and need my help and who actually value and respect what I do and hear me out, and you want to reach out to work together, because like I've mentioned in a few of my videos, it's been a difficult process with a lot of challenges and setbacks while building my business. And I've been on several social media platforms and I've been cutting some off because my intuition told me that this is too much. As I also teach my clients that you should not be taking on too much, because there is only so much that we can do and carry in our lives. And I'm an example and a female voice here, so I need to walk my talk as well. And of course, everything that I'm sharing as a light worker is through my intuition and downloads from God. And as a human angel, of course, I'm also connected to the angelic world, working with them as I do my readings and my healing sessions, for example. And of course, I just want to be clear that you know what I'm about when you come to me, and that you know what you're getting. Because, there are so many things that you need to take care of when you are building a business, especially as a sensitive woman, when you want to help others and, take care of yourself too. But yeah, so this topic of disagreements and conflicts and the difference between emotional abuse is a very wide difference between those two. And this thought was just coming to me the other night, but I was too tired at that late hour to record anything. And so I thought to myself that, okay, I'll just write this down and then talk about it later. And so I decided that I would talk about it today. So this is so important, to be able to know those two, which is which. Because, normal arguments are not emotional abuse. Because two mature, stable, smart adults who have empathy, compassion, maybe even love and care, respect should be always there between people. So when two mature people are arguing about something, it does not include emotional abuse. The other one does not attack the other one in such a way that they cause trauma, that they cross this threshold of boundaries. And again, it would be boundary violation and hurting the other person's feelings, maybe even physically hurt. We are sensitive, we are the peacemakers, we are the healers, the intuitive, amazing, kind, open-hearted caring, loving beings. And we don't like to have conflicts or arguments or disagreements with anyone. We don't want to be challenged. We want to keep our peace, and we should be able to protect our peace, and therefore our health, our mental and physical and emotional and spiritual health overall, and to be safe. So as soon as somebody is challenging you as a sensitive being, as an empath, highly sensitive being, you feel their pain. You feel their trauma. So as soon as somebody is mistreating us, bullying us, attacking us in some way, they are causing us serious trauma and pain, because we're, again, sensitive and intuitive, and we feel, like I said, we feel that person's issues and pain and trauma and negative energy, and it is too heavy for us to carry. And of course, especially even more so if we have been enduring this ever since we were children. And as a woman, as a sensitive woman, because I have been a sensitive little girl, traumatized, and very open to influences, because we usually are. So these things make it even more painful. And so if this resonates, this topic of emotional, physical abuse, mental abuse, and when two smart adults are having a disagreement on something and it turns into an argument, those situations are not easy to handle as a sensitive, intuitive, empath, highly sensitive woman. And then in those situations, if you encounter them, you have to, again, value yourself and your own boundaries, your own peace of mind, to somehow be able to distance yourself from that situation. It's not always easy. But an example that if you are dealing with a narcissistic man or a narcissistic parent, for example, in your life, and they are hurting you, they are abusing you again, making your trauma worse, or you're dealing with somebody and it turns into an argument when you're trying to confide in them, to see if you can trust them and open up to them and tell them about your trauma, for example, about your terrible situation, for example, with a violent spouse. So it's always your job to know your boundaries, to be able to honor and love yourself and accept yourself, so that you don't take on more pain. Because as you already might know, that an argument, a disagreement with a narcissistic person never leads anywhere but into more pain. The same toxic cycle will just keep on circling around without any changes. Because again, they don't take any accountability or responsibility of the situation. A healthy man will, a healthy adult person, whether they are a man or a woman, but they will want to be stable and understanding and respectful and compassionate, maybe even empathetic towards you in that situation. So even if you are having a disagreement, you can have that disagreement because they have their experience and their thoughts and their beliefs about something. But when they are not toxic, they are healthy, they will be respecting you anyway. They are not trying to control you into believing their experience, for example, when you don't want to. Like, well, let's say that you have an experienced truth about something. Like, for example, your spouse has been abusing you and you want to talk about it, and it is valid and it is real what you have gone through, and it should not be belittled or something like that. And they should not be making your trauma worse. They should be showing you respect. So you cannot even argue about things like this. Arguing about that would make it even worse, then they would be abusing you. So two people can disagree. Like I said, two mature, stable adults can disagree on something without it turning into an argument. If it turns into a serious conflict, argument, threat in any way, that means that there are serious trauma issues at play. There is likely severe psychological trauma, narcissistic abuse. That person is acting very immaturely, who is attacking the other person, who only wants to keep the peace. And this is usually what happens with us empaths and highly sensitive beings, because we want to keep that peace, So again, for the sake of your peace, your health, overall, you have to be cutting this person off. If there is someone in your life who is doing this, no matter where it is in your life, you have to be distancing yourself, because you are only hurting yourself in that process, because they will never take accountability and responsibility. Like that woman who attacked me this week on the train, a random person who has never seen me before, and I hope that I will never see her again. She was so scary to me, and it's liberating to say it out loud, that was the case. Because again, that kind of people, they are energy vampires. They have demonic entities within them. I'm not a demonologist, but I've been doing my own set of studying and reflecting on these topics, because I had no choice. How could have I lived, and how could I be here recording my videos if I had not done my work? That is just simply not possible. So I can say thanks to my hours and hours and days and weeks and months and years of work and thinking and reflecting and finding out about things, and of course at the same time working on trusting myself and God and these messages and downloads and things that I've learned and realized. So in order to remain who I am and stay sane and just to discover everything and all of that, so yeah, it's been a lot of work and a painful journey, but the win sure does feel good when you come to the other side, to the better side of things. But yeah, it doesn't come without action. But yeah, so anyway, so maybe this resonates, that maybe you need a reminder that when a situation, a person is being toxic, and when it is two mature, stable adults talking and disagreeing on something. But again, of course, if you have a truth about something and you know that it is a fact, of course, nobody can deny its existence. And nobody has the right to disagree on something that is true. You just have to stick to that truth. This was also a big, painful lesson to me to learn by myself. Like, for example, let's say a woman has been raped and nobody believes her, even though she's speaking and telling the truth. And it's a painful trauma that she's gone through. And she has to survive from that. And it makes it even worse if nobody believes her. Or let's say that you're dealing with a narcissistic boyfriend or parent or co-worker, narcissistic boss. I've been there too. And I know how painful it can be because, you know, I felt like a zero. I felt like I had no human worth or value or anything. As I was losing myself slowly, you know. And I was badly depressed and all of that. Living with fear constantly. So this is the process. And, you know, nobody has the right to deny that. Because it is a fact. It is the truth. What has happened to you, and your feelings and emotions and thoughts, your experiences, they are valid. So nobody has the right to be denying them and disagreeing on them. Or let's say that you experience ghosts in your room at night, or you've been experiencing UFOs or other kinds of entities, demons in your home, for example, any kinds of spiritual realm experiences, anything like that, or you have seen a passed away loved one in your home, for example, or whatever, you know, these things are real. The spiritual realm is always around us. There is always somebody watching. Always. Whether it is an angel or God or Jesus Christ or somebody else. So let's say that you've been abducted by UFOs. I just watched this video from a Finnish guy who makes these mystery and ghostly scary videos on YouTube. I like to follow what he does. It's interesting because, you know, I'm very interested in all kinds of mysteries and things like that. So this was just coming to me as a topic that because he talked about two men who were abducted. I've also investigated many of these cases. They're so interesting and fascinating. And I totally believe in the UFOs, and I have my own experiences as well. I don't have abduction experiences, but anyway, as a starseed, you know, they're basically our relatives anyway. Because we are basically aliens too. And so, yeah, but anyway, so I was saying that if you have this experience and you feel like you cannot talk about it to anyone, well, it's the same as dealing with narcissistic abuse or with a rape, for example, that you feel ashamed, you feel fearful, you feel very alone and insecure, like, who will believe me? Can I talk about this to anybody? Which is very typical to feel and think like this, especially when you are sensitive. And you don't want anyone to think that you're crazy or something like that. Especially if you've been also bullied already enough in your life. So why would you want that again? So you don't want that. So you stay silent about your experiences. But anyway, so let's say you dare to open up to somebody and it is, again, the wrong person. Because maturity are the wrong people. They will never believe in things like this when they have not experienced them themselves. So it's the same with narcissistic abuse, for example, or when you've been bullied. Those who have not been there, it is very hard for them to understand. And especially when they are not even sensitive, they are not intuitive, they are not empaths, they are not highly sensitive beings, they are not highly sensitive women. So it is it is impossible for them to be able to relate to what you have been going through and understand that. But again, your experience is valid. You have gone through alien UFO abduction. You have encountered these beings and you've been there in their spaceship and they brought you back. And now you're living with this trauma. So, of course, that leaves scars into your soul. Our soul is usually the one that gets hurt first when something that is very spiritual or emotional attacks us, you know. And it's mental trauma as well. So it's a serious matter. And of course you should be able to get some support from those who actually believe you and get that. And especially if you have proof of the truth that has happened to you in your life. You have to be standing firm in your truth. And of course, avoiding these toxic people who will only make the situation worse. They are not your people. If they cannot respect you and believe you and validate your feelings, your thoughts, emotions, like a supportive person would do, a normal, compassionate, empathetic, understanding, a mature, stable adult would do that. But if they don't, they are not your people. So don't take them seriously, just walk away from them. And a big proof is, of course, your story, your feelings, your emotions, your trauma, the fact that you've been scared, you have been anxious, you've been insecure, you've been maybe crying, shouting in pain, for example, because you've been abused. Your boundaries have been violated. You've been traumatized. Because, well, naturally, if you are abducted by a UFO, it can be, well, it is the same effect as being abused by a narcissist, because either beings don't seem to have any empathy. They don't have an empathetic bone in their body. So naturally what you need is, again, understanding and compassion and empathy from those who actually hear you and respect you and validate your feelings, your experience, like I just said. So this is golden in its worth. You know, you need it. And of course, I'm here to offer that because, you know, I'm like-minded. If you are my target person, my target client, so I'm here to help you. That is why I'm here speaking, and that is why I created my services. That you won't be alone, that you will actually get the support that you need. Because I've also been there my entire life. You know, being alone with those experiences, with nobody understanding me. So if you want help and support one-on-one, we can have online calls via Google Meet or Instagram call. Or you can check out one of my freebies immediately, my self-help book, my self-care online courses that will help you manifest your dream life, that will help you heal and transform, become empowered after these kinds of horrible experiences, so that you don't feel so alone anymore. Then you will have the understanding and you will feel more healed and more stable, more empowered. You don't need to be in panic and fear anymore, because you can be trading that into that transformation and healing and empowerment. And my program with my life coaching and solution-based therapy is, of course, a longer transformation, a more, let's say, a bigger transformation, of course, because I can help you a lot more in that if you commit to working with me for 3 or 6 or 9 months. Of course, I cannot create such big miracles with you in one session. That is, of course, a fact that, your life cannot simply shift so quickly. Because, there can be a lot of trauma and issues that have to be, discovered and handled. But yeah, the point of this video is that you are being abused and traumatized and challenged again for no reason, because there is no excuse for that. There is no excuse for bad treatment. So no matter how traumatized that toxic person is, it is no excuse. And it is not because of their trauma why they are acting that way. It is devil's plan. Devil is real and demons are real, and demons can move from one person to another if their aura is open to it, if their energies are open to it. They have those wounds and inner child trauma and all of that within them. So demons can access. You are here watching my videos because you also know and believe that devil is real and demons are real, and maybe you have even seen them. Personally, I have not seen them as, as physical beings like humans. But I've seen things in my mind's eye, and I'm also been gifted with psychic and mediumship skills, as we usually are as sensitive beings, human angels, because those are parts of our gifts. We can have many spiritual gifts that are meant to be used for good things. Not, of course, working with the devil. That is not the idea, of course. But as I have mentioned in my videos, while I've been sharing my story, that I saw and sensed one of those demons in my grandfather, who was narcissistic, and in my mother, who is narcissistic. And there is no excuse or for a reason for someone to not believe you if you're talking about it. It just means that they just don't get you. They don't believe because they have not been there. They have not experienced that. Because when you experience such a scary, heavy energy, scary entity, your intuition is telling you that this is the devil, this is a demon that you're dealing with. It's no joke, and my work is not about New Age or religion for that matter. I'm a human angel, and I've been abused ever since I was a child, and that has been my life. And I'm here to help beings like myself, so that we would have a better, healthier, safer, a more balanced, a happy life, because we deserve that as well. And that is what I always knew deep down. But I didn't, of course, believe in that when I was severely depressed and alone and anxious without nobody to hear me. So I had to pick myself up and start believing in myself and in what I had gone through, and to be discovering everything. So those who don't believe you, who abuse you, who make your trauma worse, who don't understand you, who label you into being crazy after you have trusted them, for example, they are all parts of the devil's plan. And you can call it a generational curse or whatever you want to call it. It's of course your choice, but I'm just saying what I have discovered, that is the truth. And I have been building my relationship with God because that is the only way to be believing in Jesus and God, in the universal love around us, because that's what we are made of, and we don't deserve to be hurt and traumatized. And I also discovered that it's really about that we have to have God in our hearts. We have to have faith. We have to have belief in God, in ourselves, in our truth, to be ourselves, to accept our stories for what they are, be proud of them, be proud of ourselves, and not be ashamed and blamed all the time, because likely you have also been carrying all of that shame and blame and fear and guilt and insecurity like I did when I stayed silent and I was losing myself and my voice and everything. Especially my last toxic ex really made me lose myself even more, and my voice, and my son's dad did that before him. So enough is enough, and sometimes you just have to put your foot down and say no more. And when they are toxic and they are devilish, they are lying to you, they are deceiving you, they are trying to brainwash you, manipulate you, gaslight you, again into believing their lies, which are lies because they don't have any proof. Like, for example, some authorities are claiming lies to you when they are not the truth. There are bad people in the police forces as well. So ultimately, we can encounter these toxic people anywhere. So all kinds of professions, of course, have these toxic people and entities, unfortunately, within them. And then it's only our own job to, again, take care of our energy and to be setting those boundaries and to be, stepping away from those situations as much as possible. So this is basically a test to you that you have to stay in your truth even more, that you have to validate your own feelings, your emotions, your thoughts even more, so that you don't always go into that panic mode and to be paralyzed again in the trauma. I've been there many times, so that is why it's important to also talk about this. And of course, we will also talk about these things if you work with me one-on-one. We will talk about anything that is bothering you, that you want to have support with. And so this is important to know the difference, when it is abusive and toxic, and when to walk away, and when to protect yourself, and when to not take them seriously, and when to stand in your truth. And this is, of course, obvious as well, but not so obvious to some people when they are immature and toxic and abusive. So they're narcissistic people, with these demonic entities within them. So they will not be able to handle those disagreements or any kinds of conflicts or arguments with peace and integrity. And you want to come from that peace and truth and integrity. So you are far from them, So again, you have to value that in yourself. The whole kind being who you are, you have to learn to value yourself so that you can become more untouchable. That even though things happen, then you can bounce back from them, and that is one of the core issues of my work. And if your partner is supposed to love you, but they are putting you down when you experience these kind of experiences to them, it's a clear sign that they are not supporting you. They are abusing you. They are making your trauma worse, because that is also gaslighting and brainwashing and manipulating and playing with your mental and emotional health, and maybe even with your physical health, because you can have another panic attack. Because we could easily have those PTSD symptoms and panic attacks again, and that physical pain and our illnesses acting up, if somebody is pushing the wrong button and making it worse, you know. So it is no joke to be playing with somebody's health. And the trauma that has happened can be deep beneath the surface. So, you know, people cannot tell just by looking at you what you've been through. And of course, this can even make it more difficult to make you feel even more different, even more alone, if you don't have anyone who is like-minded to support you. You know, and these are, again, the core reasons why I wanted to start creating my services, why I wanted to start empowering and healing myself and taking responsibility of my life, because I felt that intuitive nudge within, that message from God, that guidance from the universe and from the support team around me, that, you know, I was supposed to do it, even though how painful it was. So that person or anyone does not have the right to put you down. When you're trying to talk about your trauma, they have no right to turn their back on you, for example, make you feel even worse, and bring up those past painful memories of that trauma, because those flashbacks can happen. And there's nothing shameful about that. It is just a natural process. It is just a sign that there's still a part of that trauma left, so that it can affect you. Of course, my job is about helping you so that you can really be healed and empowered, that you don't you don't get that necessarily anymore. That is the goal. Of course, if you work with me and, you know, accept my services. So those who don't believe you or laugh at you and such, belittle your trauma and try to make their trauma somehow like worse than yours, which means that they can be, again, narcissistic if they're competing with you. So then it is a big red flag that they're not supporting you, they're not uplifting you or encouraging you, they're not being empathetic or compassionate towards you, which is what you need and deserve, you know, in your situation. So again, it's not okay on any levels, and you should not be accepting that. Your job is always to walk away and cut off those ties, those energetic cords to people like that. And to seek your own soul back, your power, your energy, your strength, your health back, to seek God. So they should go through the same as you have. They should be the kind, sensitive human angel and understand and feel in their entire being, within their cells, within their organs, within everything that they represent, of that pain and that turmoil and that trauma that has been caused upon you. They should experience that and then feel like what it feels like when somebody laughs at you or underestimates you or questions you, doesn't believe you, turns their back on you, and makes it even worse. So who's laughing then? Nobody.